This is Dagon from Inquisition. You are watching Impact Channel.
Greetings everyone, our guest today is Dagon from Inquisition again. Greetings, good to see you again.
Yeah, good to see you again.
How is the tour with Demonical?
Excellent. Yeah, we're at the beginning of it, and so far, I mean, usually when things are going bad, they can start, going bad real quick, so we haven't had that issue. And we've done, the tour has done 3 shows, starting with Dark Troll Fest. We didn't play that, but we played the following 2 shows in Poland. And they were what you would expect, really good.
And how was the last ride in Europe with also Demonical?
Last year? Excellent, successful, yeah. A lot of packed venues, yeah. Depends what you call successful. I mean, really nothing went bad, so logistics were great, crowd was excellent. They were there with a purpose and with a reason. Not just, a lot of these shows last year and this year, the vibe, what we call the vibe, the feeling. Sometimes we go to shows just for entertainment, get out of the house, see some good shows. But then you have those shows where you feel like there's a good portion of the crowd is there with a purpose. Like, I have to go to this show, and I've been feeling that so far on this tour.
As a travel musician, what were the values that you have learned from other cultures and from other people around the world?
You say as a traveled musician?
As a travel musician, yes.
What have I learned from
other cultures?
Within the realm of music, or just in any sense?
Anything that crosses your mind?
Well, I think the first thing that comes to mind is I have to divide that into a couple of categories, at least literally 2. Because when you ask me that question, the first thing that comes to mind is, and a lot of people don't know this, is I've been traveling as much as I have in the band. I traveled almost as much since I was really young with my parents because of my father's work.
So he was in the military, right?
No, he wasn't military. He worked for a company. I don't know how much detail I can go into it because it's really interesting, but he worked for a company that used to be called McDonnell Douglas.
Okay. Was it aviation, I think, right?
It was aviation. They manufactured a lot of commercial airplanes, but their big niche was military. And they created, in the initial phases of the F-15 project, F-15 fighter program, my father got hired early 80s, late 70s, and then in the early 80s, we were transferred over to Saudi Arabia, and I lived in Saudi Arabia for almost 4 years in the city of Riyadh. And living there, we traveled every 3 months, 4 or 5 countries. And so I was already, to answer the question, I was already learning immediately, consciously and unconsciously, that this is going to sound really generic, really cliche, but it's the only answer I think anybody could give. And it's that at a very young age, we tend to think that when you're going to another country, you have this big intrigue of, what are they going to be like? What are they going to think of me? So at a young age, I learned right away that it's same stuff. We're all the same. Many aspects. That's why I say it's a really generic answer, because public figures, for example, when they're asked that, you tend to hear that. Oh yeah, you learned that at the end of the day, we're all the same. I'm not talking politically. I'm not talking culturally even that we're the same. Of course not. But that we share all the common denominators of. When it comes to art, and as a songwriter, you learn that we're talking music. You tend to think that, especially in black metal, kind of going into this realm now. So in my childhood, quickly, because I traveled so much, I learned, no, it's, end of the day, it's all the same stuff. As human beings, we're all the same. But musically, specifically, is probably what people want to hear is, as a black metal musician and songwriter, I consider myself, I had early preconceptions that certain areas of the world, you know, the Scandinavians want a particular type of riffing that's straightforward and not too melodic, and United States wants more, you know, chunky rhythmic riffing in their playing, and South America wants more Black and Death, tuned down guitar brutality, and you know, and but there is one thing in common. I'll speak to guitar players on this. Rhythm is so important, and what I learned as a musician is rhythm is what everybody wants in music. The key is to, in black metal, is to not get that rhythm too happy and too, you know, but I'm moving as I'm explaining this because that's what we all want. We want our music to be alive. Alive, move. And then the melodic aspect determines the atmosphere. Rhythm determines also emotion immensely. It's a different type of feel. But of everything musically, what I notice that we all have in common is, I would even call it the lust for rhythm, because that's what music is. You know, even as I'm speaking, I don't know if you've heard that our rhythmic patterns when we speak determines how we play. And the languages we speak, a lot of different languages that are very different,
Definitely,
have different rhythms.
Even the mindset, actually.
Yeah, and it can determine the mindset, and yeah. But as a musician, what I've learned traveling is worldwide, everybody wants killer rhythm in their music. Yeah.
About what you said about languages, when you're talking in Spanish, for example, do you feel a bit different when it comes to your mindset or the way of your thinking?
That's a really good question, especially for people that that only speak, you know, their native language and don't speak multiple. Is that well, I'll answer first. Is it's hard to answer that because by nature, I want to tell you, and this can be misunderstood, that I think differently in Spanish and I think differently in English. But at the same time, and the reason why it's difficult to answer that is I fight that. So I kind of train myself. Can you relate to what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
I try to, just like a lot of us that speak more than one language, we probably work on our accent, on our pronunciation, there's a discipline to it. One of the disciplines I'm trying to refine is my ability to transition mentally between the two languages and have the same train of thought, the same form of analytics, and ability to determine important things. Yeah, if that makes sense.
It does.
Sometimes you have to make, like right now, if there's something really important to decide, and if I'm, say, for example, in South America, and I'm doing an interview in Spanish, while you're answering me a question, I might be thinking about, the time I need to be on stage within the hour, I'll transition to English to think about that. I can think somewhat deeper now in English. But verbally in Spanish, because of the vocabulary I have kind of an equal dense vocabulary in both languages. Not an extent vocabulary, but it's pretty good. And speaking, I just realized this the other day when I was down in Colombia. I took a personal trip. Really good friend of mine. He's like a brother, and he's from the old scene. it's amazing. We philosophize and everything, and I can go into even greater detail in Spanish. And it feels good. I can really almost be more poetic, so to speak, going into deeper analytics in conversation.
Do you also feel more passionate when you're talking in Spanish?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can. Yeah, and when I express myself the same way, but in English, with, say, Americans, it kind of stands out as different. It's yeah. But yeah, there's differences. Yeah.
You also mentioned the rhythm during my previous, when you were answering my previous question. And Spanish is really a rhythmic and, I could even say, kind of a melodic language. So when I, for example, learned English in the UK, I learned that emphasizing words is also really important if you want to drop your accent. Also rhythm, also about, let's say, how you're articulating yourself.
So they did explain the rhythm to you.
So that's why you, I guess, drop your Spanglish, and why I try to drop my Hunglish, let's say, if it makes sense.
Okay. It's funny and ironic when you talk about. I haven't heard that one. The Hunglish. Yeah, Spanglish. So I took a short course years ago on interpretation, in the medical field, interpretation and translation. About 15 years ago. It wasn't a long course. It was about 50-hour course. And one of the first things they brought up was that stems from laziness, linguistic laziness, when you start combining languages like that, and the importance of not doing that. So it's interesting you brought that up. But I think the brain wants to combine those two languages, not so much laziness, but you're fusing your two different mindsets together, so it's easier to just bring those words into the equation and kind of melt it into that other language and form your own expressions, I guess. But yeah.
And how would you describe your childhood? What were you like as a kid?
Somewhat of a troublemaker. Yeah. Somewhat of a troublemaker, but respected my parents a lot. So I was those kids that somewhat bad boy outside, and then at home a good son.
Okay.
Yeah, very, very. Not in a negative sense, but I was afraid of my mother, very much afraid. But I say it was positive. Always really admired her to this day. We talk almost every day, and her early on. The earliest phases of life that I can remember, very military-like. She was raised military. Wasn't in the military, but her father was. Had everything I needed and more. You could almost say borderline spoiled. But I wasn't a spoiled brat. Both my parents, but especially my mother, really made sure, and she would tell me, would let me know some of the excesses I had, what was normal, what wasn't, and why I wouldn't get certain things that I wanted, and why it's bad to be spoiled. She would let me know that. And it's one of the reasons I was taken down to Colombia in 1983 and put it interned, is that what you would say? Interned into a military school for 2 years. Yeah.
Must be tough.
And she did, yeah. Oh, but this is where I realized I was raised tough, because I look back on it and I think, wow, man, I was down there alone in this military school. But at the time, it didn't feel like that. It felt natural, like this is part of my life, this is what I have to do. The reason why, I think, it's not that it felt natural, but let's see, I was 11 as an 11-year-old boy, it did not. I never felt sorry for myself. I never thought, why is she doing this? Leave me here at this moment. No. And what that tells me is the toughness in her character and how I was raised already had prepared me for change, for big changes. Where if I truly would have been just a spoiled shit, probably wouldn't have been able to cope with it. So, yeah, it was great. Yeah, very, very happy, positive upbringing. Lots of traveling. Very supportive with music. Probably one of the stories I have, can't remember if I've explained it in interviews, but I remember when I was 13, I had a bunch of things that I sold, gifts that she had given, material things. Sold. One day she walks in my room. She was overseas in Saudi Arabia. She came over and it was late. She came in on a late flight, went to bed, woke up in the morning, opened my door, and she noticed a lot of things missing. But she saw a guitar. She's like, what's going on here? Your room's empty, but you have this guitar. So, yeah, that's a whole nother long story. So initially she didn't support it, made me return the guitar, get my things back. And then about a month later, she gave me a little bit of money for my birthday. Did a few chores, few things that we made a deal. And she said, now you can get the guitar. And my friend still had it, so I got it back from that guy. And that was my first guitar, Fender. It was a fake one, Chinese-made Fender Strat. Yeah, so gave me a life lesson, what priorities were, and but quickly changed her mind into being supportive of what I wanted to do. Because when she had me get rid of the guitar, there was a big battle. Guy was pissed. It was one of the few times I disrespected her heavily. And I was crying, and I was telling her one day, you're going to see me on a stage. This isn't a game. I was pointing at her, tears going down. It's like, this isn't a game. You think this is a game? It's not. And I was only 13, and she just stood there like, I could see, oh wow. We still talk about that. So lots of support. Yeah.
What was it like growing up in Colombia around that time?
Well, it was, without overthinking it, the first thing that comes to mind is, again, this is also maybe a generic answer, but it's very different. It's not because, us older guys, we want to say, oh, the world's changing. So it's always been changing, but it's not just that the world was different. It was very much different down there because I would not say it was 100% at the level of isolation that the Eastern Bloc of Europe was in that era, or North Korea or something. But it kind of felt like that. It felt like that, especially for the people that didn't have the advantages I had of traveling to the States every year. Because my actual citizenship is United States. That's where I was born. But I had dual nationality, so I could come and go. And it felt isolating being down there at the time. So imagine if you couldn't leave the country. It probably felt like just a whole nother world. It felt dark, very dark, very, very dark. Even Colombian friends of mine, we would always talk about that. Colombia has this dark cloud over us at all times. We used to talk about that. Just one of those situations where if I was flying back in from the States, as soon as you get out of the plane, head home, everything around you, yeah, people looked happy and everything, yeah, but it was this way of, masking the real issues. And then I'll say the obvious, we had immense, okay, so we're talking about 1983 until 1996 when I was living down there 24/7. And I just happened to be living there at the moment the cartel explosion was happening. it goes back to the late 60s and 70s, but the actual like great, if it was a band, we would say their first album was around 80 to 83, the Kali Cartel, Medellin Cartel. So the violence, the terrorism, everything was just starting to peak already then, and that affected us a lot. You know, it's not like we had armies running around, you know, it wasn't like Iraq during the Iraq War or something, but it was just constant social tensions at all times. Because the terrorist acts would affect everything. A power grid can be destroyed. You know, bombing the side of a mountain to sort of block an important highway system, to shut down the economy, and then there's assassinations at all times and kidnappings, and so it just all that just built up to the point where it affected you in your childhood, especially as a metalhead, because we're at a moment in our lives where it doesn't matter how misanthropic you want to portray yourself as a metalhead, you're probably at that point in your life probably in the most social situations you'll ever be. And so you want to get out, you want to be with friends, and when you have police coming by, like we're here right now, if this was 1985, 86, and we have maybe a boombox here and we're listening to music, hey, where are we going to go hang out? Let's go hang out here behind that building. 10, 20 minutes, cops show up, what are you guys doing here? Give you a hard time, or just beat the shit out of you for no reason. Take you to jail, throw you in, just for no reason. And so we went through that because they didn't understand what the music was yet. It was new, it was a new form of music, especially down there. And our looks and everything, we're like aliens. So they didn't know if we were some kind of youth group being indoctrinated into these narco-terror groups, or they didn't get it. But then years later they did. Anyway, things started to change, early 90s. But it was dark. It was really dark. Yeah.
So we can say that you have this Colombian experience and also experience from the United States where you were born. What are the values that you appreciate the most from these countries?
Well, that's a really good question, and it's easy for me to answer because it's something that I think about a lot. This may sound superficial, but I think it's an extremely important trait to have. Extremely. We always think about work ethics as tied into the need for material. So you have this portion of it. I'll make this more simple. Within society, there is a group of people that are minimalists. They live a minimalist life. I kind of try to at times. And they can have a productive justification. Productive justification meaning for being like that. Productive meaning they work hard, they're productive, but they don't do it to be purchasing trophies at all times and chasing the dragon of any kind of type of monetary wealth. They just want to get by enough and live life well in a different way and not be enslaved to a job, but they work. But then you have another type of person that believes in minimalism, I would say almost determined by laziness, by sloth, they work just enough because they kind of have to, and they have this pessimistic attitude about work, and the States, even though we're known to work the longest hours, they say the Japanese and the Americans work the longest. Ironically, is within those studies, they say Japanese are more efficient in the hours worked than Americans. But Americans work the longest hours, and then after that, close are the Japanese. But the Japanese tend to pride themselves at despite working almost as much as the Americans, these are just stats. In my old job, they would tell us. Yes, they have high suicide rates, but they're happier in another sense. But what I've learned from the States is work ethics. Life isn't. Don't expect life to be easy, and don't think that by not working or working little, life is going to be easier. Work is really important. It's very important. It's a discipline, and it's something you need to be productive. And it's not just about money. It gives you, order. Keeps you out of trouble, keeps you busy, keeps you healthier, and over time you learn to not allow that to affect any kind of, I guess you could say, mental health, emotional health. But living in Colombia, it's the opposite. I don't even know if it taught me this. I don't know if it's just, since I was down there at such a young age, I don't know if I just grew up being like this, or if it's something that I absorbed without realizing it. So I will attribute it to Colombia, and it's, man, you can be happy with nothing. At the same time, you can be happy with absolutely fucking nothing. And the value you can, like what we're doing here, I mean, there's a camera here and everything, but I could do this all day. Just talk with someone and analyze stuff, go deep, and not even with alcohol or anything, just, I don't know, interaction. Figure things out you don't really need to figure out, but you just do because it's interesting to think, and you don't really need much to do that. So I think that's why some of the greatest people and friends that I've had were down there. It's the opposite. We're in the States. I have some friends, but yeah, it's people who have never had like a really, really special friendship. I don't think they understand quite how important it is and how valuable it is, and you find out when you lose it too. So I think that's why in the States there's this huge emptiness of, I mean, I know there is. I feel it a lot. There's this emptiness, like, work. So we have that discipline, that. But then at the same time, on a social level, there's this weird detachment, and you hear about these high levels of depression. I mean, I've never been in a place where there's so many depressed people. Just negative, depressed. I mean, yeah. Pessimistic, that kind of thing. But with great work ethic. And so, yeah, I've noticed that countries where they're, financially are not their greatest, they've just mastered the art of being content, like truly content. At least where they're not, they can compensate.
Is it safe to say that the Americans are living by the head and the Colombians are more living by the heart?
100%. 100%. Absolutely. I mean, I know. I've been there, and at times I'm there. Yeah.
By the way, when you played in Egypt a couple of years ago, well, almost 10 years ago, I believe.
No, that was like 2016 or something.
Something like that, yeah. Time's flying fast.
Yeah.
When you had this hard time with the police over there, could you use your experience from your childhood in Colombia?
To kind of understand what Egypt was like?
Yeah. I'm not sure about the situation that happened over there, but I heard
you want me to, because I think what viewers may not know is maybe I told you a little bit about what it was like. Is that what it is? I already told you about it, right? The experience we had.
Hallelujah.
And so, just to understand, because I could tell you a bunch of things. You're asking me, from what I lived in Colombia, is there any kind of a parallel?
Also if you could use that experience, how to deal with the police force and in general the armed force.
Yes. Yeah. I would say, I already know what to say, but I'm trying to organize things here. Is from what I saw in Egypt and what I found out and what Nader went through when he did our show, it's all fear. the law and order is there just for that. They're supposed to be there for us. And when you're not doing anything illegal and the only crime you're doing as a metalhead is just existing and portraying this image of, I don't want to say darkness, but maybe portraying an image of antisocial behavior. You know, black is a very powerful color. It's a very powerful color. The art that are on these shirts, I mean, they can have everything from no message at all and just shock value art to something somewhat political like this. And the law reads into that. They just see this person, young, already with this antisocial type behavior, listening to this music that's supposed to intimidate. The law is returning everything that you're looking for as a metalhead, and when it comes back to you, we complain. Well, what do you expect? So if you're in a country where they're, say, behind the times by 40 years, and they're just going through that transition now, if metal is a new death metal, black metal especially, if it happens to be a new phase in your country, you're going to be going through that phase, and it's going to be met with the law first. They're going to, you know, if you're a promoter, say you're in Iraq, you want to do a metal show, it's going to be a problem. Politics is going to get involved. Politicians are going to get involved. The mayor or the fire sergeant major, whatever. Yeah, you're going to be dealing with all that. Now, we are in an era now where a lot of those people are my generation, Gen Xers. So some of them might even listen to the music, but a lot of countries that are ultra conservative, you know, it's going to take time for them to realize that our music also, depending what realm of metal we're talking about, and I hate overusing that word metal, but our music, they're going to find out quick that there's actually a lot of very conservative people also in our music. I don't mean Inquisition's music, just in general. And a lot of metal, especially over the years, has become very, I wouldn't say so much politically conservative, but a lot of social aspects.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, strict rules, you know, very, very by the book things, behaviors that we follow, and don't step out of line too much. Riffs have to be a certain way, gotta look a certain way. Times are changing, but yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of parallels, but they don't understand that. They don't understand any of it. So that's what I saw. What I saw in Egypt was they don't know what the fuck's going on. They just saw like 300-400 people going to this venue, black metal coming out, but they never went in. They never shut down the show. They never, yeah. So patience, that's what it's going to be. And if you're in the first wave, and I'm using Iraq as an example, if you're part of the first wave of heavy metal, let's just call it as an umbrella term, the beautiful thing is, in the future, in the distant future especially, you're going to look back and go, fuck, I was part of that first wave. That's me. I was part of that first wave of extreme metal in Colombia. So
in Hungary we call them black sheep, those bands.
Really?
Yeah,
okay.
Late 70s.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, it's time to wrap up. What are your plans after the tour?
Keep writing, yeah. So, yeah, I have my standard day-to-day things, but when we're talking Inquisition, yeah, I can't wait to get back and just keep writing. Usually Saturdays is when I write my best, when I've gotten rest, end of the week, decompress Friday night. And Saturday mornings lately has been a great thing. Just make a really, really strong brew of coffee, you know, put the earbuds in and just start ripping into the riffs, and I could be sitting there for, I average about 3 hours, what I call riff chasing. And on average lately, after 3 hours, I have one keeper riff. I have the good riffs, great riffs, and then what to me are now, they're not even good, great, or anything. They have this spiritual thing for me, and that's what I'm after, is that one. So that's how this next album is going to take a lot longer, because I want the ultimate riff in every song, and I want it to be like our most extreme album. So I'm kind of formulating kind of a style we haven't applied a lot in any of the albums. It's really chaotic but beautiful at the same time. So anyway, I'm working on that. It's working on the new album.
Looking forward to hear that.
Yeah, late 2026. So
Nice.
yeah, better get going.
Yeah. Do you have any last words to your fans?
If I were to say something, it's thank you very much for the support. It's been incredible. Online, Facebook, I really don't reply to anything or anyone, but I read everything, almost everything. I guess I have to say something, to close. Some of the worst comments, we intentionally will leave them for a while, but when we remove them, it's to prove a point. You can't just come in and turn it into a circus act. You can go and do that wherever you want. We're not going to manipulate that. You can say whatever you want about me or the band, or we literally don't care. That's just, I do the same thing. I have my opinions, strong opinions about people, and so as far as that, nothing has changed. We're rehearsing a lot. I'm riff writing right now a lot. Incubus and myself, at least once to 3 times a week, at least, the band comes up. It's a constant talk. We stay busy. We're active. We are an active artistic cult. It is our life. We are not those bands that when they go silent, we're off doing our own lives and are taking a break, and Inquisition it's alive at all times. So not in an obsessive sense, but yeah, I'm not always playing guitar at all times because I have to and make it a constant discipline. But I take my breaks, but mentally it's always here. We're always busy one way or another. So anyway, yeah, definitely, we're extremely grateful. There's no way I can come up with a phrase that can display really the meaning that I feel for our supporters, because it would just sound so formulated. Thank you so much. But no, people have no idea how grateful I am for supporting a band that, first of all, we're at a different time now in the sense of, we're looking at 2025. There's so many more bands now. Black metal has evolved. Not too far from what we've been doing the last 20. The like second wave scene.
Yep.
But it's amazing that a lot of us bands from the 2000s, late mid 90s, we're still inspiring people enough to support and to inspire them to give us their time and support, their money. It's not cheap running a band.
I know.
So yeah, it's so it's all great. Yeah, all good. We're staying busy.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thank you for the interview.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thanks.